myself to relax it. Will be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it yet, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie! Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay! Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay! Whoopsies, help me look, see I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsies, whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsies.
I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay! Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsie.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see I'm better at this today. Woo!
Wait.
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing overhead. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard to follow the fight's too hard. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up.
What is up? What is up? We are back at it again. Another day of 100 days of Rootkit. Chugging along, chugging along. Oh man. Hey, nice to see you again. Mr. Bass, welcome back. I hope you're hyped out because we have some fun stuff to talk about. Things that normal people don't know. We're going to be exploring the Matrix today, alright? On a different level. I know we've said that before, alright? We're reusing a lot of content because we're running out of original ideas, alright? Don't worry. But we're going to keep chugging along. Oh, as you can see, up above, our bar has gone up. The non-donor has came through. And now that we're on that topic, let me bring up, if you didn't know, we are Rootkit, a non-profit based here in the US of A. We offer different types of certifications, specifically our CompSci cert, which is what this stream is all about. 100 days to learn potentially everything you need to get our cert and pass. All right. If you guys are able to do it right at the 100-day mark, take it and pass. Hey, you're better than me in every way, shape, form. All right. There's no way I could have done it. It would take me like another couple of weeks of at least studying and stuff. But hey, every single week during the stream, we're giving away stuff. All right. We got our week 5 giveaway going on right now. We're giving away one of these epic sweaters. Look at this thing. God, I am so blown out. Camera, can you look? I know I'm pretty white, but I'm not that white. All right. It's free sweater. All right, all you have to do is get on here, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow Twitch, various other things. Someone please do it. We're at 799 subs on YouTube right now. Come on, just get us to 800. We're almost there. If you like what we're doing and you want to help support the stream, you can go over to this link, which I'll go ahead and drop into the chats right now. Excuse me. I'll go ahead and drop in the chats right now, and you can help fill up that bar up above. All right. And as that bar fills up above, we will be hitting several different, pillars. For example, 6K 24 hours streaming straight. I feel like the chill music is like super quiet. I'm gonna have to double check that for a second. 10K shaving my head here live on stream, and 20K shaving my beard here live on stream. No one wants to see that. We don't need to get there. It's okay. I won't be disappointed if we don't hit that. All right. I will be very proud if we don't hit that. Additionally, if you do donate financially, we have plenty of rewards for you to check out, like our stickers, our collab t-shirt, and this amazing sweater. Look at this sweater. All right, we also got the Rootkit logo on the back. Super sweet. All right, use this as our tax haven. We are a non-profit here in the US of A. Everything is tax deductible. All righty. I see some questions rolling here. Hi, how can I watch the previous videos? They are all on our YouTube channel, so head over to that. It's going to be rootkit.org. So at rootkit.org is our channel. So head over there and you can see on there all of our previous lessons that we've taught up to, what is it, 32? Day 32, wow. We're almost a third through this, y'all. I need some coffee. Oh man. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired today. I am super tired today. So we're going to power through this. I'm going to make sure it's as interesting as possible and my tiredness doesn't make me fall asleep here on stream. All right. Now let's double check. Yeah, it looks like the music's coming through. All right, good. We'll make sure there wasn't just some awkward silence, because no one likes awkward silences. All right. Makes everyone feel weird. If you want to follow along, you can go over to our GitHub. On our GitHub, this is also going to be rootkit.org. All right. right here we have pinned our CompSci Cert roadmap that you can check out and follow along. Everything you need to know in order to get our cert and pass the exam is listed here, bullet point list fashion. You can go through one by one. Right now we're chugging through operating systems, just about ready to finish it up and move on to the actual programming realm. And trust me, you guys will be very thankful about all these foundations when we get to the programming realm, because you'll see all of it come back together. All right, if you haven't already seen, I mean, we've pointed out several times how past concepts have now came back again and came back again to be more and more relevant as we chug forward, and that will be the case as we get into programming. Alrighty, so we're going to start off today talking about file systems. Let me check the chat, because they're doing amazing work. Oh, thank you, Decisions. Thank you very much. Hopefully you guys are a little more awake. It's Wednesday, all right? It's hump day, y'all. All right, we just gotta get through it. That's me staring at you. The awkwarder, the better. We could make it really awkward if you guys want. I'm guess I'm trying hard already, so I'll probably do something that's awkward later on. Don't worry. We got props today. All right, we got plenty of props today to show off, just in case any of you guys have never seen these things before. Outside of pictures. All right, so right here we have a normal standard sized hard drive. All right, this one's a 2 terabyte drive. You can see right there. This one's by Western Digital. Doesn't matter the brand. All right, but this is a 2 terabyte drive. Whether they're a 200 gig drive, 2 terabyte drive, you know, 10 terabyte drive. For normal hard drives, all right, these are going to be the magnetic discs drives. They're always going to be the same form factor, right? I think this is called the 3.5 inch form factor, because it's 3.5 inches wide. All right, this is only going to fit in your normal computer tower or server rack. This is obvious. I mean, this thing is massive. Come on, this isn't going to fit in your laptop. You will not find these in laptops that are sold on the market. What you will find on the market, oh, thanks for the follow, Advent. What you will find on the market instead are going to be these hard drives. A lot smaller, as you can see. All right, these are hard drives. These are mechanical magnetic disk drives. All right, just like this one, except a lot smaller, insanely smaller. Now, this one here is, I guess, not the best example. This is an older one by Seagate, and it's 320 gigs. All right. Now, these could be 2 terabytes in size too. Why are they so different in their sizes? Oh, thanks for the follow, Miller TQ. So why are they so different in size? Well, performance. All right. You can get a lot of the same data storage in these smaller ones, but you're not going to get, you're going to sacrifice performance. All right, these are not going to be as powerful, not going to be able to do as much, they're not going to be as capable as their bigger counterparts. Until we switch to solid state drives. All right, solid state drives will typically be in this form factor. There, you can't really find solid state drives bigger than this form factor that are currently on the market. So all solid state drives by default will be in a like a mobile laptop ready configuration. Even if you're going to be putting them into your big boy tower, they'll still be the same size. And they actually get smaller. If you have an NVMe drive, it will be even smaller than this. I just recently saw like an NVMe drive up close, and I was kind of confused for a second. I was like, this can't be right? This is too small. It almost looked like flash card. You know, the SD cards. Oh, I got some SD cards here somewhere. There we go. Okay, this isn't an SD card. It's an SD card to micro SD card adapter, because it has the little slot there to put it in. But the point is, like, they're like this big, and that's, you know, 2, 3, 4 terabytes, and it plugs into your motherboard, and it's the next gen stuff. It's very, very fast, insanely fast, so fast that it's allowed for a lot of new capabilities and technologies to be made around it. Because again, like we talked about before, your creativity in programming is unlimited. You can think of and imagine anything, and you can execute on it. The only thing that's going to hold you back is the physical realm of reality, which is a bummer, all right? It's so now that hardware is becoming more and more powerful, a lot of these concepts that have been around for a while are now able to come true, particularly in quickly swapping things between the CPU and hard drive instead of just being limited to the RAM that you had, all right? Because again, hard drives further away from the CPU, so that means they're going to be cheaper, all right? Cheaper than RAM. Also, they persist their data if the power's turned off, right? They're non-volatile, unlike RAM, which is volatile. So why do I have these? Why are these out? These are going to be our cool visual aids as we move forward, because we're going to be talking about the file systems in several different layers of the file system. A lot of this is conceptual and not really used 100% practically, and different people have different takes on it all, but this is our take on it, and this is how we're going to move forward with it. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and jump in here. Any questions before we move forward? I see all the hellos. Hello, you guys. It's nice to see you all. Still having problems with my script. Is it because I was using AWS Ubuntu? No. AWS Ubuntu is the same Ubuntu as everywhere else. It's just running in a different location. Alrighty, let us move forward here. So we have 5 different layers here. And each layer moving up is going to be extracting more and more away from the hardware and more from a conceptual programming standpoint. Because again, you really, I don't know if it's really sunken in for you guys or you're just kind of saying yes or what, but at the end of the day, this is just pieces of metal. They're chunks of metal. They're stupid. They're as smart as they were when they were in the ground, all right? In the sense that they don't know jack shit, they can't do jack shit, they are jack shit, all right? They are literally nothing unless you give them life, unless you give them some type of bigger purpose, all right? Same thing goes for the solid state drives. I don't have the solid state drive here in front of me because I actively use mine. These are old other drives. But it's nothing but a disc of metal, all right? And for the solid state drives, it's just a bunch of nodes everywhere that you can configure, all right? But there's no order. It just is there. It just exists. It's your job as a programmer to bring order to the chaos, all right? Now, it might not be your job exactly to bring order to the chaos, because this, depending on where you go and end up working, you know, if you're working at the OS level at Microsoft, Mac OS, whatever, then it may be your job to bring order to the chaos, because you may be in charge of developing the software to manage how data actually goes on these drives, because nothing is determined, nothing is made. There is no software to an extent on these drives that will dictate how data is supposed to be laid out. It's just a piece of metal, all right? It's on the operating system to dictate the logic of how to dive into it, look through it, set the data, etc., etc. It's pretty crazy. So let's go ahead and get into this, shall we? So file system is a way we can define how data is named, stored, organized, and accessed on a disk storage or solid state storage. Moving forward, I'm just going to be referring everything as hard drives or disk storage, because that's a legacy term. Any new drives are going to be the exact same. All right, nothing has changed with the new solid state drives. They go off the same concept. All right, So let's move forward here and let's talk about the physical layer. All right, very, very simple. Very, very simple. The physical layer is just the actual physical device, whether it's the hard drive, solid state drive, a CD, a thumb drive, an SSD. All right, the physical layer is going to be the actual physical device. Any questions on that? Let me see if I got some more visual aids here. I got all types of weird stuff in my drawer here. I'm a hoarder when it comes to computer parts. I just keep collecting a bunch of computer parts and never. Oh, here we go. I got a functioning SSD. There we go. We got a little Raspberry Pi here with an actual SSD in it. All right, this is a real SSD. This one is an 8 gig card on it. Still very, very small. But yeah, this again, what type of device is this? This is going to be a RISC-based device using an ARM processor. All right, you can see it there right in the center, but that means it's very limited its capacity and it can't do very much. So you'll usually find on all ARM-based devices or RISC-based devices that there will be a supplementary chip. So there's one right here towards the top to help aid in other processes. I can't remember what this one is exactly, but I want to say it's for helping with video processing. Don't take that on my word though. It's been a while since I messed with these, but again, a little refresher. So we got thumb drives. So the physical layer is going to be you need to identify what is what. All right, we got the thumb drives, we got the SD cards. Oh, that was rough. We got our hard drives, and then the solid state drives, and then the NVMe drives. Just so we're clear, if any of you guys forgot what an NVMe drive is, it looks like a thumb drive. All right, it looks like this, except remove all the plastic, motherboard only. Let me pull it up. There we go. That's what they look like. Let me zoom in a little bit. So it's about the same size as this. Even though the picture makes it look really big, it's about the same size as this. And obviously there's no plastic cover on it. And then those little parts right here are what plug into your motherboard, and that would be the equivalent of this. And this will plug directly into your motherboard. Not all motherboards have NVMe drive slots. Also, they're referred to as M.2 drives, so you can hear one or the other. But it's coming through now. All right, it's shining through the tiredness. All right, M.2 drives are on newer motherboards typically, and by newer I mean last 5 years or so. So if you have a computer older than that, you may not have a slot on your computer unless it was a higher end one. Any questions on that? I feel like that was pretty straightforward. Also, for you guys in YouTube land, apparently by default the chat is set to top chat, which apparently blocks some messages by default unless you're an active chatter. So now it's in live chat. I've been enlightened. So if you were saying stuff before and I wasn't responding to it, it should definitely come through now. I have no clue. It seems like a bad feature if you ask me on YouTube's part. All right, let's move on here and talk about the file system layer. All right. The file system layer is going to be all the structural details. All right, the structural details. This will be things that are pertaining to like the file allocation, sizes, the structure offsets, and mounting information. All right, this data is usually located in the first sector of the file system. Typically in a file system, data structures are called super blocks or boot sectors. With this information, other file system details can be found, similar to having a map in a lobby of a building. All right. So that's the big thing right there. It's like having a map that's at the beginning of your drive, because again, when you plug these things in, your computer doesn't care if it's old. If you're using a floppy disk, a thumb drive, an SD card, a mobile hard drive, a standard sized hard drive, an SSD drive, an NVMe drive, it doesn't care. It does not care how much you spent on your drive or how little it did. It is not biased. All it cares about is it's a predictable layout and things are where it's supposed to be when it looks there. If it's not, then it doesn't know what the hell to do with it. So all devices going all the way back to the early 2000s, late 90s, everything has been pretty much exactly the same. Nothing has changed in regards to how computers sought out information on hard drives. So everything is backwards compatible, but that also means everything moving forward, no matter how new and amazing it is, needs to be backwards compatible. So the new cool NVMe drives need to mimic, to almost a certain extent, what floppy drives and all old hard drives used to do. So it's very important moving forward. So file system layer is particularly, it's just about dictating, like building that map being in a certain location. So that map being your boot sector, which we've talked about before, or some people call it the super block, but it will basically let the computer know what is going on, all right, where everything is, how you can proceed forward. Any questions on that? Now, I believe it's missing here in my notes, so we're going to go over to Google Land to find this additional information just to confirm, and so we can chat about it a little bit. So the file system layer, let's go ahead and go, I think file system is going to be too broad here. File names, utility. At any time, you guys can feel free to ask questions. I'm periodically checking the chat, so you can ask away and I'll answer them. Alrighty, let's I'm not finding exactly what I'm looking for, but I believe on this layer, I'm going to move forward with it. We'll see as we move forward here whether it was in a different layer. I mean, the only other layer it would be in is the next layer. But in your drive, in these drives, there's something a little unintuitive going on. Because again, if you remember, it's just all generic space at the end of the day. Let me double check here. So it's all just generic space at the end of the day. So there's no structure at all by default. The only structure initially is, hey, put a map at the beginning, the very, very beginning, so we can kind of navigate moving forward. Now, that map information will have some crucial information on how to be navigating through your drive, whether it's solid state drive, hard drive, normal hard drive, etc. A lot of them are legacy features, all right? Legacy features. For example, you can see these legacy features if you pull up your, Windows Explorer, and you'll see your drives here. Now, these drives may be solid state drives. For example, this one is a solid state drive that's almost completely filled up. If we right click and go to properties, you'll see some information here, particularly in regards to on the tools page, this thing called optimize and defragment the drive. All right, this is going to be very clear on what it does here in a second, and why it's pretty useless now. So on your drives, you can't just store data. Like, you can't just say, oh, here's a file that's 2 megabits large, you go right here. And oh, I got another file, all right, you go right here next to it, etc., moving forward. It doesn't work like that because there's no underlying structure. How, again, if this is just a blank canvas, how is a computer supposed to know that the data that you're adding is supposed to end and where it's supposed to end? There's no concept of that, and you can't just have everything being super fluid just by default. Now, there are ways you can potentially program it in, and I feel like things should have already updated in this space because it is pretty antiquated. But to get around with this issue that there's no base structure, there's these things called the clusters. God, now I'm blinking. Clusters, allocation blocks. Allocation blocks? I believe that sounds about right? Allocation blocks, clusters. They're blocks of information on your drive. So your drive, by default, you'll see this and you'll be able to acknowledge it moving forward now. When you format a drive and first set it up, you have to actually set the block size, because your drive, in order to give it some type of structure, some rigid structure, by default will make little blocks, which are little storage units of X amount of bytes. All right, maybe it's 512 bytes. So effectively, your whole entire drive is going to be cut up into 512 byte segments. You can mess around with this and set it to 1024 or 4096 sized byte blocks, but you can set this block size. And when you now write a file to the disk, it will not just write it wherever, however, and not know when to end. Instead, it will now know, okay, from block 10 to 20, this is where my file is going to be stored. But also, these are fixed size blocks. They do not change. They are fixed size, which means that if your file is, let's say, 10 bytes in length and all blocks on your hard drive are 512 in size, even though your file is only 5 bytes in length, it's taking up 512 bytes of size on your drive, because there's no way to get around the minimum block size. Once a block size is set on your drive, that is it. It is permanent. That's how it is. All right. Now, pros and cons. If you have a smaller block size, you can, minimize this issue. If you have a larger block size, you will have more of an issue with extra space at the end, which is called slack space, which we'll get into here in a second when we get into the data layer. But your searching and retrieval of data will be faster because you don't have to navigate through as many blocks. There's less blocks on your drive, so things are going to be quicker. But moving back to the defragmentation and optimization of your drive, these older legacy drives are spinning. They're disks. They are smaller in the center, larger in the end. Also, when you're reading from them, they are literally slower if you have a fixed needle, which is what reads off them. It is slower when reading from the end, and then as you move towards the center, it actually is moving faster underneath the needle. So your data, again, it could be arbitrarily stored just about anywhere because things don't really get stored from like the edge moving forward, or maybe, you know, they could be, but it will get what do you call it, disordered later on. What do I mean by that? Let's actually, let me bring up the Samsung. I think this tool would be good if it will bring it up. Maybe I'm calling it the wrong thing. I thought it was Samsung. There we go. Samsung Magician. Let's check out this Magician here for a second. This will make it a little bit more clear. And this goes for hard drives also. All right. So this drive is new, so we're going to skip that and we're going to go to one of these older drives. So this drive right here, let me pull up Paint here, because I know you guys have been missing my drawings, so I got to bring them back. All right, we got to do some drawing. So we got a circle here, and this circle is going to be our disk drive. We're going to use a disk drive as an example, but this is as relevant to solid state drives also, right? It's just not as much of a problem for solid state drives as it is for hard drives. So this drive right here says that it's in good health and that I've written 6.5 terabytes to it. But right here at the bottom, it might be a little hard for some of you guys to see, but it says my max storage size is 238 gigabytes. 238 gigabytes. That is quite a bit smaller than 6.5 terabytes. All right. So what is this disorder I was talking about? Even if, all right, even if, so on your, so take a step back just a second. On your drive, like I talked about, it will be split up into blocks. All right, these blocks will be, for example, 512 bytes in size. You can change this when you format a drive, and you can dictate different block sizes, but most common, I believe still, it's pretty common to have 512 block sizes. All right, and this is where your data is going to be stored. Now, going around, let's say your data, this is a brand new drive, and you start writing data here at the beginning. All right, and you're writing data. All right, and you're writing data, and this is, let's say, a 250 gig drive, kind of like my solid state drive. Even though it says it's only 238, I was advertised to that was 250. All right, you're writing to it. You're writing to it. You're writing to it. Hey, guess what? Right here, you decided to delete a file. Put it in the recycling bin and delete it. Let's say it's this file right here. Cool. Your drive does not give a shit. All right, it will mark that that has been deleted, and by marked, we talked about it before, it doesn't actually get deleted. There is a little lookup table near the beginning of your drive, which is similar to the table of contents of a book, which will quickly list where everything is located. All right, so if you want file X, you need to go to block or sector 23. All right, so this will tell you which one of those blocks you need to go to that are on the drive. Now, if you delete a file, the default functionality is in the table of contents. It's just going to remove that listing. The data is still there. All right, nothing is actually deleted. So if you're doing illegal things and you think you're deleting your data, guess what? This is how they're able to forensically retrieve your stuff. It's still there on your disk. They can still get access to it after the fact. It's not that difficult. There's lots of open source software for doing it. But your drive doesn't care. It does not go back and say, oh, let me put some data in here. No, it will continue writing forward all the way into the beginning here. And this is what I mean by, if you look here, these little dashes, there's a lot less dashes I can do in the center than I can do on the edge, because the edge is a lot larger, and then the center is a lot smaller, so you pass through all the items quicker. So this brings in its own challenges within itself, which goes into the why you want to defrag your drive, but we'll get into more of it in a second. Once I've hit the end here, there's a problem. I've hit 250 gigs. I've written everything that is the write. But through writing all this, the user, have done user things and deleted data all over the drive. All over this drive, there's just holes of places that have been marked as empty. What does your drive do? Well, you still want to be using your drive. You still want to write more data to it. So how do you fit, for example, 6.5 terabytes of written data on this drive? Easy. You go back and you start trying to fill up these holes. And now your data becomes fragmented, which means that if this block right here, let's say this was like block 23 to 25, and that only freed up however much data that is, and this was, I don't know, 50 to 60, and that freed up some data. I'm wanting to write a new file, new picture of my dog, all right? New picture of my cute little dog doing something weird, all right? I want to put it on my computer. Your file will get fragmented because there's no nice space anymore that just cleanly lines up right after each other very nicely. So the beginning of your file may be written right here in this part of the drive, and then the next part of it may be written right here. They are not actually physically attached to each other in any way. They are separated across all these blocks. All right. So this is a pro of the block system. Because we delivered structure to the drive, we're able to do some wonky stuff like this in order to fit more data. Because you just never know how large or small the data is going to be. All right. So this allows you to fit things in weird spaces. But this is also known as fragmenting your drive. So fragmenting, if we look it up, we got pictures of it. Fragmenting. What does fragmenting bring up? There we go. As you can see, these pictures of fragmenting pretty much go right into it. It's all broken up. It's all in a bunch of pieces scattered everywhere potentially. All right. So defragging your drive, its name for optimizing and defragmenting your drive is literally that. You are defragging it as much as you can. So when you run this operation, this is best for optimization in regards to your hard disk, because again, remember, I know I have an open hard drive. Hold on one second. Let me double check, because it'll be even better to have that. Where are you, open hard drive? Where could you be? Oi. Okay, I give up. I know I have one somewhere. I just don't remember where it is right now. This isn't it, is it? No? Okay. All right. So in this drive, let's see. Inside of hard drive. Inside of hard-boiled egg. Why did that even come up as a... Oh my god. So, these drives are literally like your CDs. They are literally like your record players. They work and function the exact same way. They are the same old antiquated technology redone in a more modern way. There is literally a disk, and that disk will be physically altered when you write to it. And there's also a needle that reads from it. It is literally the same as an old record player and as a CD reader. All right, CD reader is using lasers for reading. This is using magnetism for reading. All right, this is using a little magnet, all right, at the tip of the needle. So if we pull up this image, I like this one the best. Mostly because it shows right here. This is the key thing, which is usually missing on these smaller laptop drives, which again is the performance bottleneck. And you'll see on these bigger drives, there can be multiple disks in these drives on top of each other and multiple needles. So you can see here there are 5 disks on top of each other with 4 disks with 4 needles. You can't really see the other needles. You can kind of see this one right here, but you can only really see the top one here. But there are multiple disks in these bigger drives. Why? So you can get more storage and get more performance. So if we go back to our drawing here, the big issue with these older drives is that they physically have to turn, all right? Which means if we take another look, let's say this is my little circle and here's the outer edge. So referencing this image over here, particularly the boxes we have circled here, if the data of the first file is maybe right here, and the data of the second part of the first file is right here, they're physically on separate, separate distances from the center of the drive, which means it's going to take at least, at a minimum, 1 round of the drive going around in order to hit this spot and read it, and then you'll have to wait for the whole drive to spin again and you to adjust. And this is if your needle is fast enough to adjust in 1 rotation of speed, but your needle needs to also adjust to this new layer, and then it can get it on the second run around the disk. All right, this is a huge bottleneck for hard drives and why they are really slow compared to solid state drives. All right, solid state drives do not have this bottleneck. They can instantly retrieve data from wherever, so the defragging is not really an issue for them, but it is for these ones, because when data isn't nicely beside each other and you can't just get it all in one sweep, you now have to do multiple rotations, multiple adjustments to read some data off of your disk. So this is another huge perk for your doing a defragging of your drive on these older systems, and why it's important to do that. Additionally, the more your everything is spinning, the more everything is moving, the arm is moving and reading stuff, that is more wear and tear. These do not last forever. They will die eventually, and the more you are stressing your components, the faster they will die. There's also one more thing I wanted to mention, which was don't remember. Must not have been important. So let's move on. Any questions on that? I don't see any questions right now, so let's go ahead and move on here. What's next? The data layer. Pull up my notes. We kind of hit on some of the data a little bit. So file system layer, again, map at the beginning of your drive dictates what is the structure of your drive. All right, and that will include the block size or the sector size. I forget right now. I believe they're interchangeably used, but let us move forward here. Let's see. Data layer is where your file and actual data will be stored. Each block is given an address used by the file system to locate it. We just talked about that. So each of these are going to be labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And in your table of contents section at the beginning, that's where it will refer to the location on the drive of where that data is. It's going to be in those blocks, all right? It's going to be in those blocks. And those blocks are predefined. Let me see if I can find the block information here. It should be, if you look at your drive and check out the settings in here, I forget exactly where it is. Maybe it's going to be more readily found in the properties on properties on properties. So can find these things when I don't need to find them, and then when I need to find them, I just can't find them. All right, let us bring up the disk clean crate. Here we go. Hold on. Let's bring up our disk management, because I think we can find the block sizes in here. Go to properties. This does not look promising. This looks like exactly what we had before. Why you got to do this to me? I'm gonna be here. What if I click on? Here we go. All right. This is really small, really small here. But this is, again, in this extracted concept, your file system layer is dictated right here. This is at the very beginning. You're going to tell your drive, and you're going to engrave at the beginning of it, what type of file systems do you want? So I only have the option to choose NTFS, which we talked about before. That's going to be Microsoft only drives. There's FAT, exFAT, like 20 different FAT styles. All right. And I'm blanking on the other ones right now, but this is where you can choose, all right, what style you want. And then below that is your allocation unit size. All right, this is the size of your blocks. So right now it's set to default. What default is, I have no clue. All right, who knows what default is right now? You would have to look it up. But you can see here, you have the option between 4,960, 4,096 bytes is the smallest block size you can choose, and you can go all the way up to 2 megabyte block sizes. All right, that's pretty big. That means every file you make at a minimum is going to be taking 2 megabytes of storage on your drive. All right, it's gonna be fast, but that's a lot. So change that at your own will. So you'll see this every time when you try to now plug in a USB drive and so forth. Allocation unit size, allocation unit size, allocation unit size. That's what you want to be looking for, right? So that's where you can change, again, the structure, the block sizes on your drive. It's been there all along, even though you haven't noticed it. You've definitely seen it before, because we've all messed with thumb drives, especially during grade school, in college. It's been an option there all along. You just never noticed it, all right? Even though I was screaming, notice me, senpai, please. You didn't care. Now it's time for it to get its revenge on you. All right, so blocks can only be in one of two states, allocated or unallocated, all right? So allocated is reserved. It's being used. Unallocated is unused, unreserved, all right? We use these terminologies not just in the hard drive space, but also in memory in general, all right? So when we're talking about RAM, ROM, etc., you allocate data or you don't allocate data, or you can unallocate data. So you aka are giving up that space because you no longer need it, all right? Let's see here. We talked about the storage on disk. We talked about indexing. We talked about fragmenting. All right. So another thing we're going to talk about is this concept of slack space. All right. Let's see. Hopefully it doesn't bring up the product. Slack space. There we go. Slack space. So we got these. Oh God, I hate the site. We've ran into it like 20 times. Freaking spam crap. All right, there we go. So slack space. All right, slack space is a very interesting concept that multiple people have made applications to try to make use of this space, but also it's typically used a lot in the cybersecurity realm to either look for things that may be malicious or put things that may be malicious. Because let us see here, unused, this definition by NIST.gov is Slack space is the unused space in a file allocation block or memory page that may hold residual data. All right, we just talked about the blocks, file allocation blocks. So unused space in the file allocation block that may hold data, residual data. Sometimes it's not residual, sometimes it's put there in purpose. So we talked about a second ago that all data by default will be left on the drive. This is potentially hazardous for you. So for the drive aspect, it's on the operating system to clean that data and make sure things are good to go before you save stuff to the drive. All right, that's the OS's responsibility. If it goes bad, you can blame the operating system for that functionality. When we're talking about RAM, that's on the programmer. That's your responsibility. If you're programming in C and you're allocating memory, and that memory for some reason has extra residual information, so if you use something like a malloc, it's your responsibility to make sure you either clear it out or make sure it doesn't cause chaos. You're basically working in a trash bin, all right, in the computer science realm. Only on a brand new clean computer do you have a nice clean slate. Besides that, you're dumpster diving, and that's where your program lives, and you have to try to avoid the trash. But this also brings in some interesting things called slack space. So if you have a block, all right, so let's say this block is, we're gonna keep going with 512 bytes in size, and you have a text file that only takes up, I don't know, half of the size. All right, it only takes up this data. You have all this unused data here at the end called slack space. So there are some programs that will try to take advantage of this and make your storage like more expansive by writing data in there. It can be kind of hazardous because if for some reason your OS by default will give priority to the data that's supposed to be there, aka your text file here. So if for some reason you open this text file later on and add a couple new sentences to it, and you used a program to help expand your storage drive, and it also had a file stored here, all right, let me do it in a different color. It had another file stored here. When you write those new couple of sentences, guess what? You're going to overwrite a little bit of that other data, and now that other file that you had stored is going to be corrupted. All right, so it's a very risky business to store information there. Typically, how these programs will avoid that issue is they'll utilize slack space on files that have rarely or never been used. All right, so something that you've installed and it's pretty much guaranteed from looking at past history is not going to expand in size. A malicious use for this would be, hey, there's a lot of extra space all around your drive, not being used, unregistered, hidden from the operating system. How convenient. You see where I'm going here? Using slack space to hide a malicious program is greatly beneficial to a hacker, all right? Because it's a lot of space all around your drive that's conveniently not being used. So hiding things in slack space is sometimes really beneficial, especially if you're going to go about making malware. So keep that in mind. Again, how you can completely clear out your slack space if you are worried about that is when you delete files, you can't just use the normal deletion method where it just clears the table of contents. You have to use some type of full format. Format will wipe the whole drive. There are programs that you can install that are going to be like Recycling Bin Plus, which when they delete a file, they will wipe this record, but also completely clear the slack space. All right, so you can really make sure everything's being deleted. It's all being removed. Any questions so far? We're about at the top of the hour, so we're about to go on break. If there's any questions, you can go ahead and drop them. I don't see anything so far. So we're going to go on break. We'll be gone for like 3 to 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat, and I will answer them after the break.
Liftoff of mission 41B, the first flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Can you hear me now? Nah. I did it again. Thanks, you guys. That's rough. Alright, like I was saying, we like giving away things for free for some reason. This class typically is $20,000. That's what we charge most of our corporate companies that hire our services to teach and educate their own developers that are already developers in the field to keep them trained or hire new employees. So this is not a cheap class. This is a lot of free stuff we're giving away, free information. I mean, if you go to a college, this is going to be $100,000 here in the US to get this information. A lot of free stuff. We have an issue with free. We are losing money at a alarming rate. We are not stable. We are on track to go under here soon if things don't change, which hopefully they will with Project 26 launching, but we'll see. Additionally, to pile on to our death spiral here, we're giving away free sweaters. So, hey, grab some of these free sweaters before we completely die out, alright? Maybe they'll be collectible one day. Come on here, basic things like subscribing to YouTube channel, Twitch, etc., and you can grab, you can potentially win one of these sweaters. If you like what we're doing and you want to help keep us afloat or have us be your tax haven, hey, we're registered in the US. Everything is tax deductible. So save on your taxes this coming year. Alright, donate to Rootkit. Depending on how much you donate, you can get various different items and rewards here, like our stickers, our awesome collab shirts, and this exclusive 100 Days of Rootkit sweater I got on. We got the Rootkit logo on the back, only available through 100 Days of Rootkit. Alright, after this, the 100 Days of Rootkit stickers, which are super epic. Look at that thing. Look, it's so cute. I just want to squish it. Just squish. Alright, and these sweaters are super awesome. There are also different pillars that we can hit, like 24 hours straight streaming, shaving my head here live on stream, and the one we don't need to hit, but shaving my beard here on stream. No one wants to see that. Additionally, we have an anonymous donor who is matching 1-for-1 donations up to the first 10,000. They have already matched for last month's donations that rolled through, and they'll be matching again for this month's donations that roll through. So donate today, help us out, all right? Alrighty, so talked about physical layer. That's what the hell do you even, where do you have here as your drive, all right? File system layer is giving structure. All right, giving structure to the nothingness. Data layer is how all of your data is being stored, which we talked about already pretty far in depth. We talked about the Slack space. We talked about all of the blocks, blocks/sectors. There's a lot of different terms for these for the same things here. We talked about allocated, unallocated space. So just very briefly, but there's not much to go into it. Allocated means it's in use. Unallocated means it's up for grabs. And we did talk about the metadata layer quite a bit already in regards to, where's my paint? In regards to this table of contents. That's going to be your metadata layer. What is metadata? That's a great question. We should answer that before moving forward. Metadata is data about data. I know. Inception, we're going through. Oh, everything is everything else. Oh, it's literally it. Metadata, information about data. It's data about data. And you can actually have data about data about data about data. Like, you can stack this stuff on top of each other, technically infinitely, if you have enough dimensions to it. So it can get pretty trippy. A famous big company in the news recently changed their name to Meta. All right, it was not a coincidence they changed it to Meta. No, they didn't change it because they wanted to be more well, it was kind of, they wanted to be more coincided or thought of in regards to metaverse products. Metaverse products, what is that? It's a fucking buzzword, all right? Just like cloud, all right? It's referencing the things that have already existed and existed forever, but it's a better term. Gets more news coverage, gets people talking about it. Now you're talking about Facebook more than you ever thought you'd be talking about Facebook, but you are. So guess what? It worked. Meta is just an abstraction. It's an overview. It's information about another system. All right. So metaverse stuff would be any type of game that can simulate potentially like life. So if you're in a RPG, you're playing WoW. Congratulations, you're in a metaverse. All right. That is by definition a metaverse. All right. Because it's meta in regards to its recreation of real life based off information of real life. Yeah, that's basically it. So meta, whenever you hear meta, it's not Facebook. This is not Facebook's data layer. All right, there's no connection. All right. Meta is a term that's existed way before that to describe information about information, data about data. All right. So meta data layer is going to be your table of contents. That is data about more data. It is data in regards to where other data is on your drive. Now, we said that this data is kind of a pointer, which it is, but you have more information inside of your metadata layer than just that. You have things like the potential type of data it is, the size it is in bytes, the potentially the maximum file size that's allowed for it, all the location pointers. So those are going to be pointing to the locations that exists on a drive. I'll get into that in a second. If it's protected or not. So this would be more of the operating system level. So your operating system will dictate to a certain extent what goes into this metadata. All right. Because not all operating systems are the same, and each one has its own dictation on what is put into this metadata layer. Because again, everything is arbitrary at the programming level. You have a blank sheet and you can make it the way you want it to be. If you don't like how things are currently stood up and you think you can do it better, hey, go ahead. No one's going to stop you, all right? Anyone can do anything they want, all right? It's going to be a challenge to get people to adopt your way, but if it truly is better and you can market it out well, there's no reason why you wouldn't succeed, especially if it can bring speed improvements. Large companies invest lots and lots of money into speed improvements, optimizations, all right, whenever they can, because time is money. If I have to pay 1,000 developers to do some type of task and it takes them 30 days, but you're telling me if I get them to use this new software you made and now it can reduce their time by 5 days, guess what? I just saved 5 days worth of money for 1,000 developers. That's a shit ton of cash, all right? No reasonable business is going to scoff at that or look at you weirdly. They're going to be signing every agreement they can possibly can so they can get you on board and your software on their systems. All right. Let's see here. And you can potentially have information in regards to permissions like the owner, the groups. For Windows, it'd be like the DACL information, and then timestamps. That will all live here in the table of contents, aka the metadata layer. All right. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. That's also why I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but this is something you can experience when you look at a file. So if I don't know, go to desktop, maybe you're on here browsing. All right, maybe you're browsing on your computer and you can see the files. All right, you can see files that are listed here. You can, maybe you were doing this in the command line, and you can easily see and quickly see the files that are listed there. It's very, very quick. But once you try to open the file, everything slows down. Well, this isn't a coincidence. It is literally because all that information is going to be up here in the table of contents. All right, it's going to be easy and quickly accessible, and it's very lightweight in its size. And then when you try to actually open the file, if you're using something like a hard drive, it could take a while to find everything on the drive. Additionally, I guess something that we didn't miss, this is just extra recreational information. There is info on these drives. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but right, it will focus right there. You'll see something called the RPM. That stands for rotations per minute. This drive is rated for 5,400 rotations per minute. Each drive, especially going up to server grade hardware drives, will rotate faster and faster, because the faster you can turn the drive, the faster you can get the data off of the drive. So that is not a coincidence. So just something I just wanted to mention before we move forward here. That would be the same for your solid state drives, except they don't turn. It would be the clock rate on your solid state drives. So the faster the clock rate on your solid state drive, the faster you can extract information off of the drive. All right, let's see here. And then we have our last one, the file name layer. All right, this is how a user interfaces with the file system and contains data that assigns a name to each file. All right. File name data is located in a directory and is used to map names to the corresponding metadata. So by default, your file names are not connected to the metadata. All right, so they have to be reconnected, and that's what the file name layer is for, is connecting those pieces together. Any questions on that? Let me pull up the chat. How are you guys feeling? We talked about a lot of stuff there. A lot of stuff, more than you thought you'd ever learn about drives. Particularly file systems, because again, this is in the OS sections, because each OS is going to potentially do things slightly different. But everything we've talked about is going to be consistently the same across them. Just the information inside of each one may be different. Each one will be dealing with a physical drive in the physical layer. Each one will be having a map at the beginning that tells the OS how everything is going to be laid out and what the size of all the blocks are. The data layer is just the data. That's not going to change. Your metadata layer is going to be the metadata of your files, that quick lookup, and then file names are typically stored separately than everything else. Any questions on that? I see no questions. How do you guys feel right now? I think calling that a day might be best. It went pretty good. We went for almost an hour and a half talking about drives, different types of drives. think it would be best to allocate tomorrow for OS processes. What do you guys think? Sounds good? All right. I like it. So tomorrow we're how are we with the schedule? We're ahead of schedule still. We we rammed through all of the earlier modules, so we are very much ahead of schedule, all right? There is no rush. We're about to start programming, and if we take a day for each one of these, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days left before we start getting into programming. And like I said before, programming for our programming section, we're first going to we'll download some of the software that we're going to be using, but we're going to be talking stuff maybe a little bit at first at the conceptual level. I don't know, I haven't figured it out exactly yet, because based off previous feedback, it's been mixed on whether people appreciate the talking about programming and its specifics first at more of an abstract way and then getting into it, or getting into it first and then talking about it in an abstract way after the fact. So I'll determine what we'll end up doing when we get to the programming section, but yep, we're about to get into programming and it's going to be hardcore. You guys are going to be okay though. We're going to have fun. We're going to make some games. We're going to make a lot of interactive products. We're going to start a couple businesses, become a couple of millionaires, all right? It's going to be a fun time, all right? We're going to bring in the money. Let's see here. All right, helps me practice and solidify info. Yep. All right, sweet. So let's go ahead and call that good. And tomorrow we'll continue with the OS processes. All right, sweet. I will see you guys on the next one.